This is Pop Culture Confidential, and I'm Christina Yerling Biru. Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm thrilled to share my conversation with the brilliant Tony Gilroy, creator of Andor, the masterful Star Wars prequel series that's as politically sharp as it is thrilling. Gilroy, who's known for Michael Clayton, the Bourne films, and The Devil's Advocate, to name a few, is a keen observer of history and human behavior. He's long explored themes of power, sacrifice, and moral complexity, and in Andor, he dove deep. It's so enlightening to speak with him, and in this conversation, we got into some big questions about the show, his writing, and life itself. Found family, sacrifice, fascism, destiny, and the question at the heart of it all: why do good people do bad things? We also discussed how Andor's themes resonate so powerfully in our world today, as well as working within the Disney machine. But first, here's a scene from Andor Season 2 featuring two of my favorite characters and storyline on the show. Luthen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and Clea, a young orphan he took under his wing. A moment that captures the stakes of the fight ahead.
When do we start fighting back?
We have.
By walking away.
We fight to win. That means we lose. And lose and lose and lose. Until we're ready. All you know now is how much you hate. You bank that, you hide that. You keep it alive until you know what to do with it. And when I tell you to move, you move.
Thank you for joining me.
Nice to see you again, yeah.
And thanks for this incredible season of Andor. When we talked last time, I didn't think it could get any better. And then, wow, this season has been so complex and so moving. And now that it's come to an end, I have all these big themes I want to talk to you about: weddings and women and war criminals and everything. But first, let's talk a little bit about family dynamics, which have always been a huge part of the Star Wars universe and in Andor as well. The found family that seems to work quite well with Marva and Cassian and Luthen and Clea. Blood families, perhaps more strained and codependent. I'm kind of thinking of Cyril and his mother and Mon Mothma. What role do you as a writer think of that family plays in terms of ideology and politics and loyalty?
Well, I never think about it beforehand. I never think about it when I'm writing something. I'm just letting things happen. And so much of what I find out about what we've done is forensic and after the fact. It's kind of strange. But I think home. I mean, if I just take it through Cassian, if you think about how many things he's exiled from during the show and how much he clings to the idea of home, he calls Bix home, what's happening at home, and the yearning for that. There was always a lot of question about, people always wanted to know, he starts off looking for his sister. And then why don't we follow that up? Is the sister going to miraculously appear, or is some character that we have going to coincidentally be his sister? Some silly idea. But I kind of knew pretty early that the absence of the sister was far more valuable than the reality of her, that the fact that there was this missing thing for him, this missing piece of family, this missing piece of home. But you're right. There is a real distinction between the families that people make in the show and the families they're stuck with, isn't there? Yeah.
Well, isn't that life?
Yeah, no, I know. And in if you think of Dedra, I was raised in an Imperial Kinderblock,
Yep.
and where does she end up? She ends up back in control of in the a ward of the state in Narkina, and yeah, you can't be careful. Be careful what family you choose, I suppose.
Yes. And then there's the ultimate family dynamics. I mean, some of the most influential films in history, be it The Godfather, The Deer Hunter, they start with these weddings, right? Countless comedies. Um, you, of course, started with the first batch of three here at this huge celebration. What makes that such an effective entry point for the narrative, and why did you choose that?
Um, I kind of set the table for it at the end of season one, so there has to be, I either have to explain it, it's what happened, or I have to show it. When we came up with the solve of getting rid of the 5 season thing and going to a single second season, and we are going to do these 4 year tranches every 3 episodes. Um, the very first experiment, because it really is a sort of experiment. Okay, we're going to have all this negative space in the show. I remember going back up to the hotel room after we had the conversation at Revelation and starting to sketch a little bit and going, well, what would be my first needle drop? And I go, well, the wedding. I got to do that. And if I do the wedding, wow, I could get a lot of different characters there. I might be able to get Luthen there. Maybe Luthen has a Skulldun connection. Oh, that makes sense. Skulldun's a buyer. That's cool. So he's there. And then, God, it takes place over 3 days. Well, wow, I can do this whole episode in 3 days. What an interesting development. And then, God, I wonder, I won't be able to do that for the other years, will I? But if I could, it'd be great because it has this really propulsive, elegant aspect to it. So part of it is writer carpentry, you know. The excitement, I was going to a lot of weddings that year. I think I went to like 3 or 4 weddings that spring when it was on my mind.
And a lot of dynamics happen at those
Yeah, and I
weddings.
knew I could cut away. Yeah, and I knew I could cut away from it if I made it a 3 day event, one of these sort of destination, these really complicated weddings. I knew that I could. It's also something you can very effectively cut away from, and when you come back to, people know what a wedding looks like in the abstract. So people have it might be strange and unusual, and some of the things that we do are unique, but everybody knows where they are in a wedding. Everybody
Mhm.
kind of knows what's happening. So there's some basic orientation there, so I can be pretty aggressive about cutting in and out. Those are the reasons.
I want to talk a little bit about the moral complexity that you write so well. On a personal note, someone in my life when I lived through war and had PTSD, we never spoke of it much, but I could already as a child feel that there was a great sort of sadness and emptiness in this person. And in Andor, I feel that both your rebels and your war criminals are really carrying an emotional burden. Do you feel that emotional burdens are sort of equally distributed among your characters, irregardless of their intentions?
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think. Everybody's sacrificing. Everybody's sacrificing. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's epic, sometimes it's big and small. But I mean, one of the really, why it's so easy to be empathetic and why it's so easy uh, for me to get inside Dedra and Partagas and Cyril, obviously, um, and to help them be full, I guess, is because, you know, fascism, just take that side, fascism, what does it do? Authoritarianism, it comes for your property, it comes for your church, it comes for your courts, it comes for your community, it comes for your city, your planet, your tribe. Ultimately, when it's finished consuming everything else, it always consumes its early adopters and its proponents, and it eats its young. All regimes end up eating their young in a way. And so I think that gives me some sort of historical permission to feel really sympathetic. I do think that they're victims very much.
So, as a student of human behavior, as you are, and you write that so well, what have you learned about why, let's say, good people choose wrong things?
Oh my God. Well, in that very question is I realize I've been working on that question for a very long time. We went and saw, I hadn't seen Michael Clayton in 18 years. They had a screening of it the other night on film in LA, and I went. And someone I did an interview and they were trying to couch it as a political film, and I go, I don't see what's political about pesticides. What I do think is what I do think is universal about this is my fascination with why people who know what is wrong do the wrong thing. And Clayton is all about that. I've written a whole bunch of movies where I'm just constantly wondering why people are. I don't have an answer for that. I I
Have you approached an answer? Do you think so?
I
It's
I
so
don't know if answer
it's
is.
the
I
million
mean,
dollar question.
well, some people do it cut. I mean, politically, I think people do it because they have it gives them relevancy. People want attention. People are terrified of the alternative. I mean, there's very stark circumstances where you can say, "Oh my God, if you do this thing, people will die," and yet people do that. And I would lose my business if I didn't do this. Um, but that decision in all its variations, I, I'm fascinated by it. I keep writing it. I think that I don't want to paint myself as anything other, but I think part of my I don't understand it. I can't imagine doing it. Um I try to posit circumstances where I might be where I might be motivated to do that, and I wonder have I ever done that in my life? Um but I keep working on it. I don't have a really
Yeah.
good answer to that. It's really it's you've touched on something that is continually perplexing me.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if the happiest character you've ever written, or the one with the least emotional burden, is Alpich is the devil.
You know what? That's really interesting. Those monologues were so easy to write.
Were they?
They were, yeah, because they were. I mean, everybody thinks they were so easy because and my big solve on that movie, because that movie had been around forever, and I didn't want to do it, and Taylor wanted to do it, and I said, man, this movie sucks. It's not about anything. Go look at Rosemary's Baby, and then you'll realize you don't want to do this. And I made a deal with him. I said, I'll come to LA and I'll work for free for a week. And if I don't have it a week, you have to let me go home as a friend because I don't feel this. I don't have any. And I got there, and after I was there for a couple of days, I came up with the idea of making him the father. There hadn't been that aspect of it. And I thought, oh, biologically, if I put that in myself, biologically, I have all kinds of appetites. There's all kinds of things I want to do that I don't do because I want to be a citizen and I don't want to. I mean, how many women do you want to sleep with? And how many cars do you want to steal? And wouldn't it be great to just do this? And wouldn't it be great to just do that? And that, you know, Satan doesn't have any of those hangups. So you could just literally, once it was in, I can go, oh, it's about my, I think the key line in there is, what's with God giving you, taste but don't swallow, swallow but don't, he gives you all these instincts and then says, don't do these things. What kind of God is that? And so
Mhm.
if you put that in your head and you liberate yourself, you can just write it, and then you're free. It's a fantasy trip, really.
I wanted to ask about Stellan because he said sometime in the beginning, when you approached him about this, that he didn't want it to be about revenge.
His backstory. He didn't want
Yeah.
his backstory to be about revenge.
What was
Uh, because I think I was grasping around to try to figure out what his backstory would be. And I came up with a couple really ornate versions of it um, that were kind of unwieldy and too much. And he knew I was working on it. And he said, we don't have to do it right now. We don't have to do it. We'll get to it next time. But just don't make it revenge. And I think that raises the bar pretty high. Revenge is easy. There are other
Mhm.
characters in the show that are there for revenge. I mean, Cinta's already there for revenge. I mean, there's people that are going to be there for revenge, and that's going to be, you wouldn't want to share your motivation so obviously with a lot of other characters. It might be better to be something special. And he's just pushing me harder to dig a little deeper, I think.
He also told me that, quoting as I remember, that Tony Gilroy knows all the rules but chooses not to follow them. I'm not sure if that's you agree with that, but are rules like the whole Star Wars, all the rules, are they useful to you at all as a writer, or do you sort of
I
push
don't think
against
he
them?
means that. I mean, you can't, I mean, the rules of Star Wars have to be a lot of times we're developing the rules. I mean, on Rogue, the rules were uh, very strict on a whole bunch of things that have changed over time. No paper, no knives, no this, no that. Um, uh, it's good to know the rules of Star Wars. I really wouldn't want to violate those. I think what Stellan's talking about is I think I've stayed curious through all these years and stayed interested in never trying to reproduce what I've done before. So you're looking at, if you've written 50,000 scenes, you're always looking for, you may have done a scene like this scene multiple times before, but you're always looking for some way to turn it around and turn it inside out. And usually some sort of inversion or some sort of chaos to it leads to something cool. I'm just trying to stay interested.
And I've told you before that I feel that you're like the master of exposition. And then I heard you talking about that you have actors some actors are really, really good at delivering exposition. And I thought this was fascinating. Do you cast people thinking about that this person will have so much they have to go through?
There are characters that really have to do a lot of heavy lifting for writers. And like Anton Lesser in the show at
Yes.
the ISB, you know, unknown. I mean, he came in and he was wonderful, and we cast him. And Danny wrote my brother Dan wrote the original Partagas scenes, and came up with the hook for that character. I don't know if you ever remember a movie called The Paper Chase. It's an older American film about law school, and John
Hmm.
Houseman played this character, very iconic character in America. And he's a law professor, and that's how they, asking questions, these brutal questions of a class, and you're just mercilessly. And we got him in there, and oh, he's just such a fun actor, and he's so effortless, and he's just every take is good. You go, oh my God, this guy can just over time you end up, it's like, you have four cars in the driveway. Which one is the one you want to drive to do, to go to the supermarket? Which one's the one you want to drive on vacation? Which one's the one, he just, boy, if there's story to tell, you can put it in that ISB conference room and he can just make it go down. It's so entertaining. You're trying to hide from the audience when you're doing that. You don't want to make
Hmm.
spinach, you don't want to make vegetables for the audience. So you're trying to hide that stuff. And some of the stuff you're talking about is taste. I mean, sometimes it's taste, where people,
What do you mean
uh,
by taste?
that people feel that they, rather than spending an extra few hours trying to figure out how to artfully get exposition in, they'll just say, oh, Christina, since last I've seen you, your hair is
Yeah.
shorter, I
But
mean,
you
whatever.
don't do
No, I don't
that.
want to do it. No, I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I love Chekhov, but I always hate the first couple scenes.
Yeah. Which
The
is
first couple
exposition.
scenes drive me crazy. Yeah, because everybody's doing that. Yeah.
So I want to see you rewrite Chekhov and see how you do
No,
it.
no, that's not. I'm not denigrating Chekhov. Believe me, I'm a disciple. But there's always that sloggy first encounters. Yeah.
So the women in Andor are just formidable. I was wondering, in that vision that you mentioned that you wrote that went to Kathleen Kennedy that you called long time ago a long and forensic manifesto, I think you
Right.
called it. Were you already thinking that women would be vital to the revolution?
Well, not in that memo. That memo was kind of dealing with their central issue of Cassian Andor. That really and but I don't think I've ever worked on anything that you don't see a lot of women. I mean, I don't know. I mean, after I wrote Dolores Claiborne, there was a couple years where I did like a whole year where everyone's trying to pigeonhole you. I became like I was a woman's writer for a year, and after that, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what it means because I don't have a different keyboard or a different I mean, they're just characters, but I can't see how you would do anything without having, I don't know. That just seems like a basic requirement. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be much more
I
boring
don't think about
without.
it as an issue. No, it's like people said, "Oh, you had this gay cop, you have this,
Oh,
Vel and
right, there was
Simpson
some
in the show," and
discussion.
it's like, well, yeah, they're there, and like we're just doing that. It's not a thing. We're not making a thing about it. It's just sort of, it's just what would be, right?
Can I make a request? I know that you'll go on to do other things now, but put in a good word for I want more Clea. I'm transfixed by what she's going to do going forward.
Really funny you say that. I did a podcast yesterday with two women who have a Star Wars podcast, and they pitched they were really funny, and I mean it's a really high level Star Wars podcast, and they were pitching they were pitching me a show where Clea and Val become Nazi hunters in the First Republic. So I said, "Oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
pretty good."
So there's something about where we leave her story and what she's,
Yeah.
done, and she's just a fascinating character. So I really want more.
Well, that's good. Oh, I want you to want more. I want you to, yeah, I want that.
Destiny is such a central theme in Star Wars as well, another big one. I was wondering personally, considering your family and your father and your brothers, was it your destiny to write?
No, I don't think so. Um,
Do you believe in destiny?
no, I don't. I mean, fundamentally, no. Uh, I can make myself believe in it. I can write it. I can fantasize about it. But I mean, really, at 3 o'clock in the morning, do I really believe in it? I don't think so. I wish I did. Um, I think destiny is part of I mean, that must be hooked up with faith. I mean, the act of faith must have some aspect of destiny in it as well. I mean, I respect it, and I built temples around it for all kinds of stories and things like that, and I can really get into it. But do I personally believe it? No, probably not.
But you are a student of history, and maybe it was your destiny or in some sort of to write about. I mean, you've been studying Russian revolutions and Haitian and everything, and talking about how it's cyclical and just an amazing job in Andor. Do you see sort of victory just being another cyclical beginning of another collapse?
I was really believing in the progression of history until until recently. I was really believing that there was some positive trend, painful, hard fought, awful, messy, stumbling progression through time. I mean, I've read enough about the past to know that there are very few places in history that I would actually really like to live, you know. Um, uh, I want to believe that there is some accumulated civilization tendency towards better.
It
And
sounds like you kind of given up.
I'm
Come too
I
far.
haven't given up, but it's highly under challenge. I mean, look, I'm probably like a lot of people my age. I thought I had lived through all the history I was going to get. I lived through Vietnam and drugs and civil rights, and then I mean 9/11 and then COVID and whatever. I thought, so, I've had a lot of history in my life. There's been some history. I I think we're all getting a big dose of history right now that seems like a little bit like this was not history, that this was an extra helping that I didn't feel like I needed or desire, which is really interesting because the show is about, regular people, and history just comes in and takes over your life. All of a sudden, you have no choice. You are part of you have to make decisions. You have to adjust, you have to submit, or you have to rebel. You have to decide what you're going to do because history is gonna is has just kicked your door down. So yeah, I mean, I try to stay hopeful. I try. It's challenging right now. Challenging.
The show is really about the regular people dealing with history at the moment. The
Mhm.
the bureaucrats, the mothers, the people, I mean, just us and what we have to deal with at the moment. And it's such an incredible picture. And it's also kind of depressing because it just feels like history just repeats itself. I
I
guess we
mean,
just
there's some places and times back in history that if you could have put yourself in an elite position or put yourself in a position of comfort, there's some wonderful periods of time that you could say, oh, this is a really great place to live and great moments. And there are generations that have lived in peace in certain places over time, bucolically and happily, and religions that satisfied their worldview. I mean, there are all kinds of idyllic moments in history that people could, but by and large, um, I wouldn't until recently have traded anything. What did I say once? I said I'd rather live the sweet spot is you want to live after antibiotics and before the robots take over. That's the
okay.
that's the sweet spot. Um, yeah. It's tough to pick up the newspaper now and not feel a little overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, and you caused some headlines a few days ago, getting talking about the budget that Disney that
That was public record. I
yeah,
mean, that
I
was
know.
in Forbes. It was public record. Because it's tax credit, it was publicly released in the United Kingdom because it's tax credit. All the shows that are on there have to be released. So there was a big article months ago about, oh my God, all this expense, and then Forbes magazine did a follow up and said, oh wait a minute, we've just analyzed all the shows, and Andor, because there's so much of us by minute, we're the cheapest one of all this whole variety of shows. So it was a matter of public record. So I don't know why. That's a clickbait headline.
Yeah, and also
Annoying.
because fighting hard for money, as you said, I mean, I'm married to a screenwriter. Everyone's always
Yeah,
fighting for
no,
money.
exactly.
It's nothing
It's a
new.
clickbait. It's a clickbait.
Well, what has changed? Has it, I
What?
mean, in terms of streaming, have in the industry, have things
It
changed for you
changed
as
while
a
we were.
showrunner, creator?
No, but I mean, we did really. The first season was really like, oh my God, we need huge shows. Everybody was doing it. Everybody needed huge shows. And 2.5 years later, the dream of that and the loss of cable and loss of income and all the, it wasn't just Disney, it's everybody's like, oh my God, streaming is collapsing. It is not this gold mine that everybody had set out for. So it wasn't just Disney. Everybody's looking at the same numbers, and Disney was also laying people off. So it's really hard to ask for a lot of money for your show when, they're laying people off and the business model has shifted. And yeah, I mean, there's no villain there. There's no hero. You're just sort of going like, oh my God, well, we can't make our show cheap and we're halfway through and what should we do? And so, I have to be an advocate for the show, but it's not, I don't, I don't think Disney was in any other position than anybody else. I mean, Netflix had a different business model, and theirs was to just, go in a different way. But streaming was not what it was 4 years ago. The dream of it is not there right now.
I know you couldn't say fuck the empire, but was working with Disney a good experience?
Oh my God,
Yeah,
incredible,
yeah.
incredible, incredible.
There wasn't too many
Oh, and that
rules.
was that was that was I mean, that's such a window into how good the relationship was. I said, okay, I'm going to put this in here, and I know it's going to be a problem for you. And I wrote a little memo where I said, I think that the social media and the controversy around it will actually generate more money. And we were trying to get attention. We're a show that nobody's going to pay attention to. I think it might help us get attention, and I think that the shock value of it and the interest in it will actually offset any loss of viewers that you might have. And that's my case. And they said, no, we don't think so. And I said, okay, we'll change it. I mean, it wasn't a demand. They have been, Disney has been, I mean, they have been the absolute Medici's on this project. It's really been extraordinary. I'll never have an experience like this ever again. And I don't have many people in my cohort or colleagues or anybody that's had an experience like this. Um, with these kind of resources over this much time, with this much freedom to do what you want to do. Now, the responsibility was on us, on Zana and myself and everybody at Pinewood. I mean, we can never stumble. We have to account for everything we do. We have to put everything on screen. And we
But there
ran
was
it.
never a discussion of like the rape, that there was a very
Never, never,
poignant episode
never,
about that or genocide. Never.
never,
That was
never once. Never heard one thing about it. No, and Kathy's seeing everything that's coming in, so she's our conduit to the studio. And no, never. I mean, we have pretty strict guidelines. We can't have any our sexual limitations are obvious, and violence wise, I mean, one of the really cool things about Star Wars is blasters don't have blood. I mean, if you can imagine, we wouldn't be able to do the Gorman massacre with machine guns. I mean, my God, I wouldn't want to watch it.
yeah, that
But within
it was difficult to watch as is.
as an exactly within the framework of everything, as long as I think if we had started to mess up or fallen behind schedule or suddenly didn't know what we wanted to do or started shooting scenes we weren't going to use or asking for things that were extravagant or weren't problem solving, I think Disney would have had a lot of things to say. But we had a very tidy production, and they were amazing. They were amazing.
Can you see now in hindsight, after going through these many, many years, you've sort of combine the intense Star Wars loving fans, the real fandom, and this new audience that is there for the political narrative. What did you do? Were you able to expand the appeal?
Well, we haven't fully successfully done that, I don't think. I mean, I think that's why we've been out
Oh,
selling
I'd
so
say you
hard.
have.
Well, we're starting to, but I mean, there are so many people that are really Star Wars averse. Like they just won't watch it because it's Star Wars. And that's our experience making the show. I mean, uh half the people on the show are dying to be on it and they can't wait to be there and it's Star Wars. But there's another significant portion of our of actors and creatives and all kinds of things where I have to be on the phone for a long time trying to convince people um, that they need to come on and they need to see what we're doing and they need to read more and find more because we're not doing that. The message I've been out like I mean, we've been out for 7 weeks. I mean, my primary message is like, you do not have to know anything about Star Wars to watch this show. If you do, it's great. It'll enhance everything that you already love, but there's no requirement for any prior knowledge to watch the show. And that's a tough message to get across, and it's getting through now, but it's been slow and tough. That's been our hardest. That's been our hardest carry.
How interesting. I didn't realize that it was that segment that was almost more difficult than the sort of
Oh
really
my God, totally.
rabid
No, the Star
Star
Wars
Wars
people were
fans.
there. No, the Star Wars people were there from the very beginning. They show up and they have their own, they have their own interests and conversations. But no, um, no, there's so many people that it's a running joke. I'll walk outside and I live in the Upper West Side and I'll run into somebody who I've worked with before or somebody who knows me. And, oh man, I saw Michael Clayton or Dolores was on TV the other day. It's so great, man. What have you been doing? Oh, on this show for 6 years. Oh yeah, but that's that Star Wars thing. What are you really doing? That I want that
Wow.
person. Yeah. So I have to sell those tickets one at a time, you know.
Okay, then you're working it.
We have been working it. Yeah, we're near the end of it, but yeah, we have been working it. But that's been our struggle and that's what we've been going for this time and it seems to be gaining traction. I think there's a critical mass where maybe it'll take on its own, but yeah. But that's the work for us, yeah.
What's your plan going forward?
I have a movie that I'm trying to get greenlit. I think I might be getting there. I'm going to direct a movie in LA about movie music, about movie scoring, about a cellist who returns to LA to do movie scoring.
Oh, wow. And you've
Yeah.
written that at the same
I
time?
wrote that last summer. Yeah, I wrote it last summer.
Do you hope that Andrew, there'll be other directors, other people taking over sort of the Star Wars universe and like we were talking about Clea or Cassian Andor's son or
Look, they have a many projects in development at Lucasfilm right now, all kinds of different things, and some of them are really exciting, and some are traditional. And I don't I don't know. I mean, I don't own it. I don't I think I've left, what is this thing? Leave the campsite cleaner than you found it, I think I left in good shape. I'm not going to do it right now. You never want to say never. I'm sure I'll be asked to advise about things. I'm a friend with Kathy for as long as she's there. But I think the wrong message to take away would be, oh, let's try to do exactly what these people did. I think that's the mistake that's been there before. I think the better thing is to
yeah.
bring people that really have something to say and have a point of view and have whatever their smell and stink of their work is, that they bring their game to it and do that. I think that would be the more it drives us crazy, all the people on the show, when they try to make divisions between what we've done and what the other shows are doing. And then that's other clickbait. Then you see all these things about, oh, this is better than that, or they're not doing this, or everybody on our show just gets nuts about it. It's really, we don't feel that way. I think the more flavors of this there are, I think it can sustain a lot of different approaches as long as they're good.
And are you going to keep asking that question about why good people do bad things?
I don't have to do that in the movie. I don't have to do that in the movie I'm working on now. No, but I am. I'm just no. it's in the newspaper every single day now. There's just so many people that are doing things that they know are wrong. They know it. Everything else that was in their life tells you that they know this is wrong. And you're going, why? Is it the money? Is it the relevance? Is it fear? Is it just because you need some sense of identity? Has something happened that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a dog or something looking at the dinner table. Like, why are people doing that? And I know that sounds weird. And I am a student of behavior, but I have not figured out. I figured out the consequences of it. I figured out how much I hate it and what I feel about it. But I don't know why, really. I don't know why.
When you figure it out, will you
When
call
I
me?
figure it out, yeah, then I'll realize my destiny, right? Maybe that's my
Yes.
destiny. I'll find destiny. My destiny is to find the answer to that question, right? Exactly.
Well, we
Oh my
figured
God.
everything out in this interview. Tony, thank you so much for taking your time with me. Again,
I'm so happy we got back together.
I've been really
All right.
excited for this. Thank you.
Ciao. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Tony Gilroy. And thank you for listening. Please subscribe to Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts. Pop Culture Confidential is a part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. See you next time.